Chainmail, the granddaddy of them all. It's time to do the Battle of Watchtower Hill at the very gates of the tomb of Vince McMaximus, where the Broman army is eager to reclaim that sacred relic, the girdle of Vince McMaximus. Looks a little something like this. Last week we put together this map of the terrain, and remember, the map is not the terrain. We've got our heavy orcs down here with the light horse up on a hill ready to ride through the center or maybe sweep around to the north. We've got our Bromans up here by Watchtower Hill, and then they have basically anchored along the marsh. Now, I'm using 1-inch bases here. That's 10, 12. We need a full 12 inches. I don't have it. There's just 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches, actually 6 inches between our uncrossable pond. The little skull here is Watchtower Hill. It's the best terrain piece I had. If you can imagine a waterfall spilling out into that deep pond. And then our stream here, remember, costs a full turn to cross. So what I did is I shifted the second Broman down to the marsh and the heavy horse over here. Now, it's a really fair fight, with the exception of the fact that the Bromans have an advantage when it comes to the horsepower. They've got heavy hitters. The orcs have an advantage in speed. Because they don't want to get pushed off the battlefield, the orcs will have to move up. And of course, these guys don't want to get stuck on this side of the river, because if they do, the Great Latora Khan is coming down with like 1,000 more heavy foot and 1,000 heavy horse. 1,000 heavy horse is pretty dangerous. So they're going to take this opportunity to make their crossing. Essentially, this turned into a race. Can these guys get over the river before these guys could defend it? And the answer is yes, because they're doing it right now. 10 miles to the north, as this battle fight is fought, you can hear the clashing sounds of steel as the light horse for these guys, led by Sir Dude Delabides, is rescuing 500 prisoners. Now bear in mind, what that means is capturing those prisoners eliminated another 4 stands. Was it 4? No, it's a stand and a half of light horse who would have been able to negate these guys. One thing we're going to do is adjust our tactics a little bit. These guys are getting over the river. These guys have to get out of the corner so they're not pushed off the battlefield. But we may leave the light horse up here until we decide which way to flank them, right? So that's kind of the way things look at the dawn of this battle. The orcs probably don't care so much about keeping their light horse. Now, they're wolves in point of fact. These are 2mm figures. I don't think they care so much about, see, there's the wolves. I don't think they care so much about preserving this force because they do have such heavy reinforcements on the way. I think they're going to want to spend those today, which after the battle means that the Bromans will have the light horse advantage. We'll talk about that after we see what happens. The first thing we have to do is roll for initiative on this turn. Of course, as always, we're going to tie for our initial initiative roll. The yellow die is for the Bromans. The green die is for the green skins, and the orcs get to go first. And they decide, no, why don't you guys go ahead and commit to what you're going to do? And as expected, we're just going to move everybody across the river, through the swamps. The swamps you move at half speed. You cannot charge through the swamps, so we're going to bring these guys up to there, and then our orcs are going to move forward. And we've done all of the moving. Everybody has one. We even moved these light horse up a little bit. Everybody has 1 fatigue. I'm not going to mark it because it clutters everything up. Bear in mind, I also went ahead and these guys really probably would have deployed with a broader front. They have a slight advantage in numbers. So now the orcs have to decide whether they're going to hang tight and redeploy in a longer line to get that initial distance. And well, let's just go ahead and roll for initiative first, shall we? The Bromans get it this time, and the Bromans say, yeah, why don't you guys go ahead and show me what you're going to do. Now, in Chainmail, when you want to change formation, they really are, it's a little bit wonky the way this is written. And if we flip to that page, they really deal more with moving from column to line to column, and not so much in the actual change in formation. It says they pay a movement penalty. So I think what we'll do is we'll treat this as a half move, 2 inches. The other thing you can do is you can say, look, since these guys are moving up 1 inch to create a line 6 across, and then we'll use, that's half a move, and then we'll spend the other half kind of adjusting like so. And this unit is going to do the same thing. So they're filling in the gap, stretching out, and they're not going to have as long of a backfield, but that is their move for the turn. And then we'll move these guys, the light horse. I have my handy dandy cheat sheet. For Chainmail, I'm apparently the only guy that ever put one of these together, which just leaves me gobsmacked. It's a 30-year-old game. You'd think somebody would have had one of these, right? For Light Horse, they can move 12 inches. And when they do a formation change, so if they turn 90 degrees, well, it's 45 degrees, cost them, now it would cost these guys half a move. It costs them a quarter move, so that's 3 inches. And then they still have 9 left. So long as they are limited to the 45 degrees, that's only a quarter move. So they are clearly going to come over. We're going to try to flank and sweep these guys across, which, I don't know, what do you do if you're the Bromans in that case? Now, bear in mind, these horse, we'll go ahead and move them up into charge range, or should we do the same? Let's move them up the 1 inch, and we will match the orcs. So we're going to give ourselves a little bit of a cushion between the... and then we'll just bring these guys up as our second rank. And then likewise, we're going to bring these guys up just 1 inch to there. And we'll bring these guys up to suit. Now, I always do my casualties on a single base. And that single base will generally always be in the back. So we'll stretch this line out as well. These guys get to move a total of 6 inches since they're not charging. But remember the first, well, you know, if we move the front, we're going to call that 2. And then they've got 4 more inches of movement. So we'll, if that's 2, 3, and then there's no room to stretch out. So I think we're going to stop right there. So they're out of the marsh. And that is turn number 2. Then we roll for initiative on turn number 3. And this time the orcs get it. And the orcs say, I want to know what you guys are doing. Well, they're going to bring the heavy cavalry up. And the heavy cavalry are going to change formation like so. So half a movement to go from, call it square to column, and then that other half is 4 inches. So they're ready to charge here. And they should be, and these guys are resting. We're going to hit them with the heavy horse first, and then we're going to follow up with these guys. So these guys at 4.5 inches are not going to be able to charge the heavy horse, but the heavy horse are headed their way. So we'll bring them up. What about these guys? Can they charge 4 inches? Is that what they want to do? They're really on. Let's roll a d6 to see whether they can make contact. They're actually probably not going to want to because they're going to have one guy in contact with one-on-one is going to be a losing proposition for them, and they're going to be charged by these guys. So for the orcs, let's rest these guys as well, and we'll bring these horse up. Now they can move, we're going to move them up to here. That's half their movement. We're going to spin them to, and then, how far can they move? And still, what we want to do is get them in line right here. So to do that, it's going to cost them a half a move to get into line. That's going to cost them 6 inches. They're only going to be able to move up 3 inches. Half the move to get in line, and then to spin 90 degrees. So it's going to look a little something like that for their whole move. Now they are 1, 2, 3 fatigue for them, and 3 fatigue for them. Nobody else has any fatigue. That's it for the... Oh, no, we're going to... Yeah, no, that's it for turn number 2. Now turn number 3, we roll for initiative. And the Bromans have it, and the Bromans say, yep, we're charging. We are going to bring these guys. They have a charge of 9 inches. So they're going to charge up to here and make contact. These guys are going to charge 4.5 inches to here. And I think it's pretty obvious that the orcs are going to countercharge. We're going to see what we can do over here. And then these guys are also going to move up. Well, we're going to turn them 45 degrees first. Something like that. That costs half their move. They're only going to be able to move another 2 inches forward to there. And this might be a little dangerous because they're about to get charged by light cavalry. Now we have to roll, we have to make a morale check to see if these guys withstand the heavy charge or if they skedaddle, skedoodle. In order to withstand that charge, we have a little chart down here. When you've got heavy foot that are withstanding a heavy horse charge, they have to roll a 9 or better. If both units are charging, both must check, but that's only cavalry and cavalry. If they fail, they're going to have to retreat 1.5 moves back to the enemy. And then we have to remember that these guys charged 6 inches. They've only got 3 inches of movement left. So first, do we roll a 9 or better? They do. So they do withstand the charge. And now we have our first melee ready to go. So to run a melee in chainmail, we've turned back here. And the heavy foot, so it's a simultaneous attack. The heavy foot are attacking heavy horse. They're going to get 1 die per 4 figures in contact. They're only going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 dice. The heavy horse attacking heavy foot, when you've got heavy horse attacking heavy foot, they get 3 dice for every figure. Oh, this is not going to go well, is it? So you've got 2, 4, 6, 8 figures in contact. They're going to roll 24 dice, hitting on 6s. So we'll roll to see how many casualties the heavy horse take first. And they are going to take 1 casualty. Then we have to roll 24 dice to see how many casualties the orcs take. For this next one, we're going to have to use our Griffin bookstore, one of my favorites. I've got 24 D6s in various colors here, and they're going to be hitting on 5s. Removing the misses gives us, oh, that's a miss too, gives us a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 hits. So we're going to remove those 2. And we're going to drop down 2 more casualties, and I guess we'll put it on that one right there. Now, what that means is these guys, the Bromans, have an excess of 9 casualties. We roll for the morale bonus. 9 times 1 means their morale score starts at 9. They've got 15 heavy horse. 15 times 9 is going to be... that becomes 9 times 16 for 146. The heavy foot have a total score of 115. There's 22 figures left on the table. Times 5 is 110. Plus they have an additional 5 guys for a total score of 115. Differential of 31 means these guys have to... it's not doubled because they all have... Well, wait a minute. It is doubled because these guys have less than 20 figures. For a differential of 62, retreat 1 move, which is, in their case, 4.5 inches. And the heavy knights are not going to be able to keep up with them. So we pulled them back. Our heavy knights continue their charge an additional 3 inches. They're going to halt right there. And then we have to do this combat down here. This one is way easier. It's going to be 12 dice, hitting on 6s for both sides. Since the Bromans charged, we'll go ahead and roll for them first. Counting the 6s, they got a big whopping nothing. The orcs, on the other hand, counting the 6s, got a big whopping 1 for a total of, well, they're going to be up by, well, 1 times 3. They've got 1 extra man for a bonus, and then they've got another 5 points because of basically each of these figures has a morale score of 5. So being up by 1 guy means that you can add 6 plus that 3 is a total of 9, which is nothing. They're going to continue fighting next turn. Now remember, we had 1. Oh, these guys are rested. These guys are rested. So the only fatigue that we've got is these guys are sitting on 4 fatigue. Then we're done with the turn, actually. We can go back and roll for initiative for the next turn. The Bromans are going to get it. Now, these guys are already locked in combat, and they're going to say, hey, orcs, why don't you guys go ahead and tell me what you want to do. And the orcs are going to charge here. These guys are rested. These guys have 1. They are definitely within charge radius, so we have to make that morale check. Being charged by light cavalry, heavy foot, these guys need to roll a 7 in order to withstand that charge. If they don't get it, they're going to back off. So 7, they get it. The light horse charge in, and we're going to have a melee there. But before we get to that, we have to decide whether we're going to make contact with these guys. And I think we do. Now, because they haven't rested yet, they're going to be attacking as medium horse this time. But the orcs are not there, and they're not going to be able to charge because the orcs are on the hill. But the orcs are not going to get to return. Well, wait a minute. The first thing we have to check is, on a 1 or a 2, they will rally. Ooh, let's see if we can roll that where you can actually see it. So they didn't rally. And then, see the little white bar? That's how I know which way is front. So the Bromans here are going to get to roll their massive numbers of dice, hitting on 5s and 6s, and doing casualties. And at this point, I think it's pretty clear what's going to happen, at least over there. Rolling all 24 dice. That one's kind of cocked. I'm going to re-roll it. All right, we didn't get a whole lot of hits, but I think it's going to be enough. If we pull out anything that's not a 5 or a 6, we're going to wind up with a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 more casualties. So there's 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll drop 3 on there. So there's only 1 left right there. And as we do our morale check now, the Bromans, because they did 9 casualties, they're going to have a bonus this time of 45 to their 146. No, I'm sorry. That would be the 15 times 9, which would be 135 plus 45 is 180. You're going to have to double whatever your differential is. These guys only have 65 to theirs, so 180, 65, 120. These guys are going to be completely wiped out. And this is where not charging comes in handy for the heavy horse. Remember that they move 4.5 inches. With these guys, they're going to surrender. So we're going to have to pull off. And how many do we have here? 12? We have 13 guys. We have to pull off 3 knights. And they are going to finish their charge. So what we'll do is we'll pull these guys over here. And we'll pull these 3 knights off. And these 3 knights will finish their charge to here. Something like that, right? So they're going to have to take a turn to rest and a turn to turn around, and then they can get back into the fray. In the meantime, we have a couple of fights we got to do. As usual, down here, we're going to have 12 dice versus 12 dice. And we'll grab our 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Rolling for the Bromans first, hitting on 6s. There's a 666 there, so they do 3 wounds. We'll take that guy off. And then the orcs, we're going to roll 12 dice, and they're going to get, counting 6s, they're going to get none at all. So 3 times our bonus morale of 1 means it's going to be 3 as the bonus. It's going to be a wash on the front line, a wash here. That'll be a bonus of 20, 40, 3, plus the extra 8. That's going to be 43, plus 8 is 51. And when you win with a score of 51, the result will be 51 is move back, full move in good order. That's these guys are going to withdraw 4.5 inches. Well, this is casualties to here, and they are in good order. Because they were locked in combat, these guys are going to stop right there. They're not doing anything. Now we have 1 more melee to deal with up there. And in this case, you're going to have, this isn't complicated, the light horse attacking heavy foot. They're going to get 2 dice per figure, hitting on 6s. So they're going to get to roll 8 dice. And I just happen to have, I might have rolled an extra die for each guy on that one. I guess there's a little bit of extra animosity down there, huh? So there's our 8 dice for the orcs. And they're going to be hitting on 6s. So the orcs get 2 casualties. And that's going to remove 1 Broman base. But the Bromans are going to have 8 guys. And when they've got heavy foot, I guess you can't see that anymore, can you? The heavy foot attacking light horse, you get 1 die per 2 dudes, so they're only going to get to roll 4 dice, and they're going to be hitting on 6s. So hey, they got 1. That's something. So 2 to 1 means that the Orcs get the extra morale die. They're going to get a bonus of just 1. I never roll high on those. Kind of weird, right? Tallying up the scores, the wolves here have a total score of 93. There's 15 times 6 gives you a score of 90, plus the bonus of 3. The heavy foot have a total of 32 figures. So they get a bonus score of 17, which you add to 5 times the 32, and you get a total score for them of 177 to 93. Because these guys are less than 20, we're going to double that differential, and that differential is going to be 84, 160. Bear in mind, this is high risk, high reward using these guys. The Broman Heavy Foot had a very good chance they weren't even going to withstand that charge. Had they rolled less than 7, they would have run off. They would have been attacked in the rear by these light horse. As it is, the light horse are going to surrender. The wolves have had enough, and that means we're going to have a total of 15. We got to break 3 figures off. We're going to break off 1 stand. And now these guys are sprung loose because these are prisoners. These are prisoners. This is the only active orc force left in the game. And we have to roll for initiative. Tie roll. This is a casualty. We'll get that out of here. A tie roll a second time. And now the orcs get the initiative, and they're going to... Oh boy, what do we do here? They're going to charge. They got to try to bust through here. So they'll move up their 4.5 inches to impact these guys. And then these guys will turn around. And next turn, they're just going to rest and see what happens. These guys are going to spend their entire turn rotating something like this. Because these wolves have been captured. Turning up to 90 degrees is a half a move. So we'll be able to bring these guys up another couple of inches to right about there. Of course, what we're going to do is bring them to impact these guys in the flank. And that's going to be it for this turn. Oh, you know what I should point out? These guys are all fighting as light infantry. These guys on next turn are going to be fighting as light infantry as well. So we have 8 dice versus 8 dice. Let me count them up. 2, 4, 6, 8. So we'll roll for the... Since the Bromans charged, we're going to roll for the Bromans first. Hitting on 6s, they're going to get 2 casualties over here. And then the Orcs are going to roll 8 dice, hitting on 6s. And they're going to get nothing. So now the Orcs are going to be down by 10. The 2 bonus... 2 times 1 is a bonus morale score of 2. So it'll be, the Bromans are at an advantage of 4, 6, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then you have to add the 20, 40, 50. So 62 is the differential. And when you win by 62, the opposition has to retreat 1 move. And retreat means they will be in disorder. So they come back here 4.5 inches. And, you know, we're just trying to figure out how bad it is. If this was a normal miniature war game, we would be done. We'd call it quits. Hey, you know, we know exactly what the outcome is going to be. Because this is a campaign game, we still need to figure out what these guys are going to do. And in fact, on this turn, what will happen? So the Bromans are going to take these guys off. They're going to take these guys off. So we can just kind of ignore these bases now. Those are our prisoners. These guys are going to rest. These guys are going to rest. These guys are going to rest. They got them pressed on 3 sides. Because they're not being contacted on this turn, these orcs will be able to reform and rally. But we have to roll for initiative on the next turn. And it's going to be a tie. So we'll roll for the next turn. And these orcs now have the advantage. So what do we do? Everybody is rested but them. They're fighting as light infantry. And they're going to get contacted because it's 4.5 inches to 4.5 inches. These guys, These guys are going to hit him in the back. These guys are going to move in. What's the distance there? They're beyond 4.5 inches. They're not going to be able to make contact this turn. So do we just charge up and see how many? Yeah, let's charge up and see how many casualties we can do. That's really about all. Oh, but if they do that, then they are within charge distance of these guys, and they're going to be able to get impacted here. It does keep them away from the horse, though, so that's probably still a smart play. They move up to there. These guys will make contact like so. And then we're going to have a total of 2 attacks, or 4 dice, hitting on, now it's medium foot versus light foot. So checking our chart, heavy foot, excuse me, on light foot. These 4, there's going to be no counterattack, hitting on 5s, and they get no attacks. But this is pretty much over. Whoever survives is going to be stuck as prisoners because they are so heavily outnumbered. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. We're going to be rolling 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Hitting on 5 this time. Heavy foot have an easier time of it against light. And, man, that's not a bad number of 6s. They get a total of 6 casualties there. So that's going to be these 2, and then 4 more. Then these guys are going to get to counter. We had 2. It's going to be 12, but this time it's light infantry attacking heavy foot. They're only going to get to roll 6 dice, and they're hitting on 6s. So who knows? Maybe in the campaign game, these 3... Wow. Those extra 3 hits might make a big difference when Gnasher Clan shows up. That's another, at our 1 to 25 number, this is 75 more casualties that the orcs have caused. But if we tally up the total number of, what was it? We did 6. So our morale bonus is going to be 6 altogether. And if you just tally these up, look, these guys are going to be washed with these guys, meaning you've got 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 200, and 205. And now you're down to 20, although it wasn't at the start. So 205 means these guys are going to surrender as well. And the battle is now over with the Bromans in full control. Those heavy horse made all the difference in the world. I don't think the results here are too surprising. The great news for the Bromans is that they've crossed the river. They're right here at the gates of the tomb of Vince McMaximus tomorrow. Now, this battle took place on the 11th. Tomorrow is the 12th. It's mop-up duty. Nobody ran off the field. All of these surviving orcs were captured. So tomorrow they're going to be able to bust into the tomb and grab the belt. Meanwhile, we got another battle going on down in the southeastern portion. Well, it's actually the northeastern portion of the Roman Empire, where the Gnashers? Yeah, that's the Gnashers down in the southwest. Our good friends over Jim Owczarski is going to be running a battle using, I believe, Chipko's fantasy rules to do the Battle of Blagton Road. Whatever he does on his tabletop will be canon for this campaign. And if he's done before next week, we'll do a full campaign overall review of where things stand. One thing we can say for sure is that with General Nerzenjager's great defeat of Warlord Grogknard, Grogknard pulled off a good victory down there at Renninger Marsh, but this time he was just overwhelmed by the existence of these heavy knights. And remember, Gnasher Clan is coming, so they've only got a couple of days to get in there and grab that girdle, which has been in there for hundreds of years, maybe like a billion years. So that might take more than a day. I'm not entirely sure. Come on back next week. We'll figure it out together. Till then, I'm praying for you.